across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a very good evening to you. It is Petrie here with you for the next 2 hours. Let me tell you what's coming up in the next couple of hours. We're changing things around a bit at the moment, given the constraints of the 2 hours instead of 3. So what's coming up is at midnight. Phil Dave will be here to go through the newspapers for Tuesday. So we'll have a paper review at midnight, and a lot of that I've got the papers in front of me now, are all about this this peace deal that will see Donald Trump and Tony Blair as interim government to Gaza. Yeah. Anyway, we'll be talking about that a lot, I suspect, with the papers. Also, what's coming up, we're heading over to Los Angeles to meet up with the adorable and wonderful Michelle Pollino to find out some of the latest news from over there, including Donald Trump is again thinking about 100% tariffs on movies not made in America. And the trouble is that a lot of films are made in multiple countries, including America. So nobody knows quite how that's going to work out. So we're talking to her about that. Josh Rom is here as well, entertainment reporter and contributor to the Sun newspaper. He's got some exclusives for us as well. So all of that is to come in the next couple of hours. And I don't know if you've seen I've signed it already, the petition. I wanted to talk to you about this petition for no digital ID. We don't need digital ID in this country. We have all sorts of forms of ID. It is a complete lie that it will in any way stop the boats or stop the migrants from working here, because already you have to prove you have a right to work in this country. So those companies who want to employ illegal migrants will still employ people on the black market. They're not going to say, oh, now suddenly there's a digital ID, I can't employ you. It's absolutely bogus rubbish. And we should fight this, if not for ourselves as older people, then definitely for our children. This is a gateway. This ID is a gateway, make no mistake about it. So I signed the petition. It's just over 2.5 million. There needs to be more signatures. There's also going to be a demonstration on the 18th of October at Parliament Square. That is on a Saturday, so if you're free, please do go along. I intend to go along to that. I don't usually join protests, usually for my health, but also because they're usually quite polarised politically, so I don't tend to go because of displaying my political stance. But this isn't political. This is about freedom. This is much, much bigger than politics. And for a Labour government, again, to try and force this on the people of this country, I find absolutely staggering, absolutely staggering. It is fascist in the extreme. And for those of you who say, oh, they've got all our information anyway, they haven't got it all in one place. And this is all about the digital pound. This is all about making sure they can control you. Speak to anybody who lives in China and they will tell you that they wish they hadn't got it. So I urge you, please, to go to the website. It's petition.parliament.uk. petitions /petitions /7301994. And actually the easiest way you can get in touch with that petition is just to Google it. I did that the other day. I just Googled no to ID petition and it came up. So please do sign it. It takes a matter of seconds. It then asks you if you want to link to your local MP, which I did. I happen to know Andy Slaughter quite well, and I sent him an email telling him that he had to stand by his constituents on this matter, and he's an honourable guy. If he doesn't believe it is a good thing, then he will not stand for it. He's already lost a job in the Labour government by not standing by the government. So please do that. It's really important. I don't normally do this, as you know, but this is incredibly important. Like I said, if not for us, this gateway, then it is for your children or your grandchildren. So please, I'll give that address out again a little bit later on in the programme. But first, the Labour conference is underway, isn't it? It's riveting. In Liverpool, and the Chancellor Rachel Reeves hinted in today's speech that more taxes will go up in November as the country is set to face, she says, difficult decisions ahead. She refused to rule out VAT rise in the next budget, whilst trying to fill a 30 billion black hole in public finances. She'd pledged last year not to raise taxes further. However, she justified that the world has changed since then due to a combination of US tariffs, higher borrowing costs and international conflicts. She is setting her stall out for a rather brutal, I suspect, budget. Well, joining me to discuss this is Vicky Price, I'm thrilled to say, a Chief Economic Advisor at the Centre for Economics and Business Research. Vicky, I'm sure, like me, you were absolutely riveted by the Chancellor's speech earlier on today.
Indeed. I mean, on one hand, she did present it all with great passion. I thought it was one of her...
She's
really
had voice training, I think.
Yes, well, maybe, and also slightly faster.
Yep.
You know, when she gets interviewed on the radio, there's still the hesitation, but this was two. Of course, auto cues sort of help in a way, but she did it well with passion. I think that certainly went down well, I think, in the whole. But you're quite right in your summing up of what it's all coming up to look like, because she did say all this. There are wonderful things that are happening in the economy. With extra spending and so on, but she did also quite clearly talked about the terrible consequences that there would be if we ended up with the fiscal rules being thrown out of the window. I think that was a bit of a reference to Andy Burnham, because one faction of the party wants her to spend more, and said that the bond markets weren't going to forgive the Labour Party and the government if she moved out or away from those rules. So I'm afraid you're quite right. I think the hints are that there will be, and we all know from the figures that there will be tax increases. You mentioned VAT. Now, VAT makes absolutely no sense because if you raise VAT, yes, of course you raise money, but inflation goes up. And one of the things that she does want to see happen is, first of all, the cost of living improving. And second, she wants to have lower interest rates. Now, obviously, if inflation goes up because of VAT increases, which is going to be going up automatically if you do that, then those two things can't happen. So
there are ways, though, aren't there, that she can raise the VAT level without raising the number that is the VAT. She can say to businesses that you have to start paying VAT at 30 grand instead of 80 grand. She can do, and I suspect that that's what she's going to do. It's going to be a real sort of, the only word I can is a sort of a minxy way around it, you know, a real sort of grubby way around this. Well, I didn't raise it. It's a bit like freezing the tax levels, right? It's the same thing, but using a different language.
No, you've got a point there. And of course, there's been a debate about this, and it could actually move both ways. So if you reduce the VAT thresholds for businesses, so individuals, because the idea right now is that you go up to the sort of 85,000, whatever it is, and you therefore, after that, don't want to go any further, because of course you're going to start, charging VAT. And that will perhaps, put people off in terms of whatever it is that they want to buy from you. So if you make that lower, then perhaps businesses who actually have to grow for whatever reason are going to start paying, more VAT, or at least whoever it is who's buying from them, has to pay VAT, because of course you can claim all sorts of things back, as you know, with VAT if you're selling to other businesses and services. So you could certainly do that, but it could also work the other way. In other words, you can move the threshold up rather than down, because of course that encourages firms to expand, maybe even employ somebody. They don't charge VAT for whatever else they do. So that can actually help them grow. So I've seen arguments both ways. So in other words, she can raise more money, but just having businesses becoming a little bit more ambitious because they can expand without having this extra tax. But of course, by doing so, they create more demand, possibly they employ somebody, and so on.
Yeah, because they're charging 20% less. Right, for that service.
Yeah.
But that's longer term, isn't it? Are we going to see Rachel Reeves, because the shorter term would be to immediately reduce the number where people start paying VAT, and then she starts getting those returns in pretty much straight away. The way that you're suggesting, which does make more fiscal sense, is a longer term situation. Is she going to short-termism this budget to fill that hole, or is she going to look at the economy and say, look, honestly, Vicky, I didn't know which country she was describing when she was saying how well we're doing and we're doing this brilliant stuff and everything's, great and people are feeling richer. I just thought, I don't know who you're talking about. But is she going to be short-term, quick fix, or long-term, do you think?
She may need that quick fix for the short term. She may also need absolutely something for the longer term. Because, of course, the Office of Budget Responsibility has looked at a number of things that have been done already, such as the industrial strategy spending in various areas, or at least the intention to do so, and is recalculating some of these things, including spending more money on more housing and encouraging more housing to be built into their productivity calculation. So they say that productivity will be higher if you do all these things, as you're doing all these things, and therefore there will be faster growth over the sort of medium term, so certainly by the end of this forecast period. So you may have, by the end of it, a little bit more headroom, because there will be faster growth, because productivity matters hugely in achieving and helping you achieve growth. So she probably needs to have both, have a short-term measure and a longer-term measure. But in terms of the shorter-term measure, I mean, if we want to call it that, she can do a number of other things, of course. She can look at least telling the markets that this headroom that I've got a problem with in the future is also going to be filled by actually freezing the thresholds for income tax up to the end of this forecast period, at the end of this government, if you like, at the end of this parliamentary term. And that, of course, is going to raise quite a lot of money, possibly up to sort of 9 billion per annum extra, and loads more people are going to start having to pay tax. So that's another way in which you can still, get more money without necessarily raising the rate. That's one thing. The other thing she can do, which is more short-term, just thinking about the shorter-term issue, which has been suggested by the Resolution Foundation, is to reduce the national insurance contributions rate, but then put it all on income tax. That, of course, captures a much wider range of people who are working. Also includes the self-employed, who, of course, we were just about to hit with the VAT change as well, if indeed that is to happen. It also, includes pensioners and everyone else who pays income tax, who doesn't pay national insurance contributions because the self-employed don't. And neither do pensioners. Some of them work and some of them are reasonably well off. So you charge their income more than would otherwise be the case because you've raised the income tax rate. For the rest of the population who work, it would make no difference because the 2% reduction in national insurance contributions is sort of offset by the increase in income tax. But politically, I think it's going to go down very badly.
It is dishonest, though, isn't it? It is fundamentally dishonest to say, I'm not putting up the tax rates up, but by freezing those rates at which you pay tax and it goes incrementally up, that's just lying. It's just dishonest because, as you said, the freezing those will bring in potentially an extra 9 billion a year. So that is people paying more tax on their income and feeling poorer because of it. And yet she's going to stand there saying, no, I look what I'm doing. I'm looking after working people.
Well, there's more, of course, that can be done, which is that you can sort of extend national insurance contributions payments to all sorts of other areas where for the moment they don't exist, such as for landlords and the rent that they get. That's another possibility. So you're absolutely right. What can be done is just extend the reach of those taxes to a much wider population and still claim that I haven't actually increased the rates.
They just think we're stupid. Anyway, the other thing that she was very keen to point out was that they were going to end long-term youth unemployment. Now, this will come at a price, right? This will come at a cost. And the suggestion is that if after 18 months you're not in education or employment or some upskilling to be decided what the government might need in terms of skills like building skills and such like, that they will be cut off from welfare. But unless they've got a good excuse. Now, my cynical brain is going to say they're all going to say they've got a mental health issue, which is a good enough excuse to not do what she's saying. Is it really possible that she can get a grip on this?
Well, the implementation is going to be a problem. There's no doubt about that. But there had been a scheme before under Labour, the sort of New Deal, I think it was called, which seemed to have worked while he was there. That was at the time of Blair and so on. So you could do an experiment and see whether that worked. It was actually even more short term, so it was after a year.
All right.
And it seemed to have an impact. The only problem is that we now have a situation where many more people have mental health problems. I mean, a lot of the young people who are not working are not working because they can't be bothered. There are all sorts of issues. We had COVID. We had all sorts of disruptions in their lives. And it seems that I'm guessing it's going to be harder. That's why they've got this 18-month one, which means really that the impact, therefore, isn't going to be that great. In terms of how much it will cost, they had already put some money aside in the spending review for something like this, improving also the training facilities being given by those colleges that do that sort of stuff, and a bit more support. So it's not going to cost, for the moment, I mean, unless it becomes more difficult to do so, it's not going to cost a lot. But the impact of this, the way that they are again looking at this, I mentioned before about productivity, is that you get those people into work. First of all, of course, after a while, you stop paying those benefits to them, so the universal credits that we're getting. So what you do as a result is you get more of those young people working, and productivity improves, and the economy improves, growth improves. Assuming, of course, they can get permanent jobs in the end, rather than just placements that perhaps don't do anything very much at all. And that, of course, will depend on whether businesses are open to hiring more people. And for the moment, as we know, the hiring intentions are going down. Unemployment looks pretty sort of uncertain. We have loads and loads of students who have finished university who can't get any proper graduate jobs. And the national insurance contributions increase that took place has taken away a lot of the appetite of companies to recruit.
Well, and also the labour laws that will be coming through soon as well. Businesses are terrified of those as well. When Rachel carries her little red briefcase on that day, which has been pushed as far back as she can for an autumn statement, winter statement now, but budget, businesses have said, don't look at us, don't come after us again, because we took all of it last time, and they did take a massive hit in the last budget. So if she can't go after businesses, then it's going to be small businesses perhaps, or it's going to be freelancers, or it's going to be, but it's grubbing around for pennies at the back of the sofa. Is it time that she ditched some of her pledges?
Well, there is quite a lot of push for that, and this is really what's been happening in the Labour Party conference, and why she had to say that the markets are expecting, or at least the pledges that they've made, is that they're going to keep to the fiscal rules. I mean, that was more or less what she was suggesting. But remember that the fiscal rules have changed already, because now the contribution that any investment makes to the economy is taken into account by the Office of Budget Responsibility, so it recalculates the growth, and therefore it gives the government a bit more headroom, and they've allowed a lot more investment to take place, or borrowing to take place, which goes then into investment. So they've already relaxed to a considerable extent, But I think because of that, that's a real problem. And the real problem is that they're borrowing an awful lot more, and the markets are beginning to worry. Yes, they're still keen to buy government debt, generally, but they expect a higher price for it. In other words, higher interest rates. And that's a problem, because the longer the borrowing goes on and the higher it becomes and debt increases, what you find is that servicing the debt, of course, becomes considerably more expensive. So we're already looking at an annual cost of more than £100 billion just servicing the debt.
If we look at the budget that is coming up, she's got a massive job to do. The 20 billion black hole that was there, that they told us once or twice, I think, Vicky. They may have mentioned it after they took over from...
Never heard about it.
Never heard about it, though. It was very rare. You had to push them for that. Now it's 30 billion. Some estimates actually are higher than that. Can she fill it? I mean, can she? And you know, sticking to her rules and all of these things that she's said she's going to do, grubbing around, like I said, at the back of the sofa, where else is she going to attack?
Well, I mean, the easiest thing would be to just reverse the national insurance contributions cuts by Jeremy Hunt, the 4%, which was massive, gave them the 20 billion that we suddenly heard about, which has been around, of course, for ages. And that was indeed 20 billion. We had 10 billion in January of 2024, another 10 billion in April. So that was huge. So, of course, she's not going to be able to do that, which is a problem. So, but there are some other things. We already talked about extending the freeze. So that gives her another, whatever, 9 billion perhaps. Then you can have some of the things we just discussed, which is the national insurance contributions, maybe sort of spreading out or doing something with that, or even reversing national insurance and then, or at least cutting it more and then increasing taxes, income tax, maybe. But there are bits and pieces, because the pressures on them aren't just the ones that we've just been discussing, which we've known for some time, but it's also the real political pressure of getting rid of the 2-child benefit cap.
Yeah.
So that, if that is the case, then that's another 3 billion they're going to have to find. So they're talking about all sorts of things like gambling taxes going up, so online gambling in particular, doubling, in fact, I don't know what, going up by forever it is to 50%. So one of those taxes is about 21%, the other 25%, and as you probably know, Gordon Brown has been writing about this, saying they should all be up to 50%. So quite a substantial increase. So they could look at bits across the economy which they can do something about. They can also look at capital gains tax and see whether that can perhaps come closer to income tax, but that's, of course, it will affect quite a lot of businesses. So that's another thing which they can do. But I think one area where they can really raise quite a lot, and they should have done it ages ago, and I don't know why they do it, and the problem is that the Office of Budget Responsibility assumes that they will do it, but they never do, is fuel duty going up, which has been frozen since 2011, I think, which is crazy. It should have been going up in line with inflation. It would have already given them, whatever, 20 billion extra a year. Perhaps I'm exaggerating a bit, but a lot.
Wow.
And that hasn't happened. Yeah.
Well, maybe this is the budget where it will, Vicky. Who knows? Well, I know you will know, and I'll definitely be talking to you about that. Vicky, it's always wonderful to see you. Thank you very much indeed, and I will see you very soon, I hope. That is Vicky Price, Chief Economic Advisor at the Centre for Economics and Business Research. Yeah, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt one way or the other. Quick break. Back in a sec.
UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petrie here with you, and just a reminder, the programme's a little bit different. We're trying out a few different things. You know, whatever is your preferred hour, it would be good if you let me know. Yeah, so coming up, we've got the newspaper review at midnight, 12 until 1. And because there isn't a dedicated phone in, which is really sad for me, you can feel free to call in at any point during the programme if you've got something to say, if you've heard something that you disagree with or you agree with. Always love talking to you guys, so please just pick up the phone and give me a call, particularly if you want to mention the digital ID nonsense and how you feel about that. Obviously I feel very strongly about it, but I'd love to hear your views as well. So whatever you want to chat with me about, I'm not cutting you off. I'm not saying we can't talk anymore. I'm saying we might have to just find, it's a bit like having an affair, you know, we might just have to find moments where we can have a chat as opposed to the full hour. That's by no means set in concrete either. I'm just deciding which bits that we can fit where and how we go forward. So any feedback from you would be absolutely marvellous on that. So just a reminder, coming up, Josh Ron will be here, and then we're heading off to LA to speak to the wonderful and delicious Michelle Polino. So all of that is to come. But for now, a quick break.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Having paper thrown at me. Hello and a very good evening to you. It is Petrie here with you for the next couple of hours, and with me right now is Josh Rom, entertainment reporter and contributor to the Sun newspaper. Now we've just got to talk about the big Sun story, which is Victoria Beckham has hinted. Are they running out of money again?
No. So basically, I don't think it's that, because she's always distanced herself from the Spice Girls. So I remember
she's hinted at a reunion, basically.
Yeah, so but this is the thing. So even though she was, when they all kind of got back together, I think it was in 2008, I believe, for this big tour across the UK and across America, this big reunion. Jerry's back, we're back together, the five of us. You know, Victoria was at the heart of that. Then in 2012, December 2012, when the Spice Girls when it was the West End musical called Viva Forever. Well, Mel B, Mel C, Jerry and Emma all arrived together and posed together. Victoria was separate. She arrived at that venue with David, alone with David and some of her family. And then since then, she's kind of been trying to distance herself from the Spice Girls bit by bit. When they went on their previous tour across the UK, that stadium tour, she wasn't a part of that, and it was just the four other girls. Now she went to Oasis and she saw Oasis, she saw the crowd reactions to Oasis, and she basically did an Instagram and went tempting ... with a picture of the Oasis stage. So it might not be that she's running out of money, because actually she's got a brand spanking new Netflix series coming out all about her fashion empire just after David.
Can't wait. I'll be sitting down to watch that. Not. Crikey, I'd rather go to the dentist.
Well, this was after David released his own Netflix documentary. So the whole thing is the Beckhams... She's turned around her fashion empire. She's not short of a few bob.
No,
this is pure.
They're all right.
She's obviously seen Oasis, has seen the passion that is visible at Oasis, has seen the kind of big stadium shows and the way those big stadium shows are, and she's thought, maybe I can do it again. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that was what you just did. Her last performance that we saw of her with the Spice Girls was at the Olympic Games back in 2012 at the closing ceremony. And that was also... Partly it was speculated at that point because there was a big homage to British fashion, and funny enough, Victoria Beckham was included in that homage, so people speculated at the time, were those two deals somehow interlinked? Listen...
Do we need another lot of Spice Girls? I went to see them at the O2 because I was invited. I was an invited guest. I stayed for 2 songs and left.
Really? Because I loved their O2 show when I went. I mean, listen, I was a kid at the time, so I was just really excited because I was like... All right,
way to rub it in.
But it was very much... I was a teenager excited because I was like, I haven't seen... Because there was the whole thing of my brother went to Wembley back in the day and I wasn't old enough to go and see them, and then it was like, oh, this is my chance to see this band of music that I've always loved. And then I think when they performed at Wembley, I was just like, give it or take it. I've already seen them at the O2. I've seen them perform. It was great. I'd love to go again, but I can listen to the music anytime. I think if Victoria wants to get on board again, I would see it, because it is nice to see all 5 of the girls back together. We haven't seen that for a long time, over 10 years really. Yeah, over 10 years. We're now in 2025. The last time we saw all 4 of them together performing a few hits was at the London 2012 Olympic Games. So yeah, I would like to see Victoria Beckham reunite with them. I would. You're not bothered.
I'm not bothered. I mean, I've met Emma Bunton more than a few times, and she is the most adorable person. And I can tell you that.
And
she's
Mel
lovely,
C as
lovely,
well.
Lovely. I've not met any of the others, but I've met Emma, and she is so sweet and adorable and lovely and gracious.
Did you sing Baby to her?
No.
Maybe, not Baby, no. Maybe. Because I mean, listen, Jerry and Emma have both had great solo careers after the Spice Girls. I've enjoyed some of their music.
She's just a gorgeous human being. So. And
Mel C's nice too. I interviewed Mel C once at the Ivor Novellos, and she was lovely. She was candid, open to answering as many questions, whatever. Nothing was off limit. She was great. Yeah. Great form.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about the others, but definitely. Right. Now, talking about meeting your heroes or people who are lovely, our lovely Lottie.
Yes.
Lottie Hume, who works with you at The Sun. She got to meet her hero, didn't she?
She did indeed. So Leonardo DiCaprio has teamed up with Paul Thomas Anderson on a new film called One Battle After Another.
It's getting amazing reviews.
Well, I mean, you look at Paul Thomas Anderson's career: Boogie Nights, Magnolia, There Will Be Blood, Phantom Thread, Licorice Pizza. And these are films like, it's not just, for example, you look at Wes Anderson. I love Wes with all my heart, but you go to see a Wes Anderson film knowing exactly what you're going to expect from a Wes Anderson film. The cinematography, the colour palette, the Brechtian acting, all of that stuff. He's like an auteur. Paul Thomas Anderson's films cross genres. You never know quite what you're going to get. He's quite unpredictable as a director in the sort of films that he does, but actually you know that he has a great eye and he's going to direct a good hit. So in terms of this film, what it's about, So Leonardo DiCaprio plays a character called Bob, who's a washed-up revolutionary who devises explosives in his spare time, and he lives in this constant state of paranoia due to what happened when he was younger, when he was married, because he basically survives off-grid with his independent and free-spirited daughter called Willa, and they're forced to change identities due to the mother ratting out this group of revolutionaries that he used to be a part of called the French 75. But his evil nemesis returns in the form of Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw, played by Sean Penn. And his daughter goes missing at the same time, which leaves Bob scrambling to find her. And both father and daughter in this battle with the consequences in their past, as this is kind of this action-packed journey to find her. And he teams up with a guy played by Benicio del Toro, and the gang kind of gets back together. It's gritty, it's action-packed. Lottie has always loved Leonardo DiCaprio, so
She's way too old for him. Even though she's only in her 20s, she's way too old.
Relax, Leo. Lottie is engaged and has a beautiful daughter.
I know.
and has another kid on the way. But I sent lovely Lottie on a mission to speak to her hero, Leonardo DiCaprio. She did get him on the red carpet, and she first asked him what his most memorable note was that Paul Thomas Anderson gave him on set.
There wasn't a specific note from him, but I do remember the things that he says no to. And that sometimes is the best direction you can possibly give. I think we as actors come with a tremendous amount of ideas, and some of them could be more traditional. And his continuous ability to do what's unexpected and take a different turn for the character's journey and the narrative, it keeps you on the edge of your seats, and you always know that you're going to see something incredibly unique in his films, and that's one of his superpowers.
And what made this film impossible to say no to for you?
The story, Paul, I've been watching his films for the last 20 some odd years, 25 years. He just creates these unique worlds, and you know, it's not easy to make a good movie.
Yeah.
And his films I'm still talking about 25 years later. They stand the test of time.
He's ageing quite well, isn't he?
I love it, because I was getting ready to talk about Magnolia and Boogie Nights and go, yeah, these are amazing films, and then you just said, no, he's ageing very well.
He's ageing well. I mean, he's got lovely eyes, but Lottie at the age of 25 she's way past it for him. I think he likes them younger. Yeah, so that's a really...
He'd be lucky to get Lottie, FYI. He'd be very lucky.
Yeah, he would be. Blooming lucky.
Lottie is gorgeous.
The most gorgeous creature. In fact, when she's on my show, I'm always like, oh, the comparison. It's just not fair.
I love my son Team dearly, but she is my absolute favourite colleague.
She is.
Sorry, guys, love you, but anyway.
She is adorable.
Should we move? I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble. Should we move on to the next exclusive, because it's a whopper of an exclusive? So, Apple TV Plus, an absolute streamer that you need to sign up to.
I love it.
Morning show alone is just brilliant, but they're bringing out Slow Horses, Severance as well, of course. Like, brilliant. It's hit after hit after hit, and their new film, All of You, is absolutely sublime. Written by William Bridges and Ted Lasso's Brett Goldstein. William Bridges directs it, Brett Goldstein stars in it. He stars alongside Imogen Poots, playing a character. He plays a character called Simon, she plays a character called Laura. They're best friends from college, and Laura's keen to take this new revolutionary test from a company called Soul Connects, which claims to find the one and only true soulmate. So she's matched with a guy called Lucas. However, Simon has always felt nothing but love for Laura. Oh, no. And so when she gets matched with Lucas, she then has a child with him and marries him. And Simon struggles with his feelings of unspoken love for Laura. So that's the kind of premise. And then he never truly moves on. And then the two of them embark on an affair. He tries to get her to kind of move with him, but she's resistant because she's still loyal to her husband and her kid. So it's a beautiful romantic tale full of really difficult themes, because especially as someone who has been cheated on, I never quite know who to root for in these circumstances. But what I will say, it was an absolutely brilliant watch. So I sat down with Imogen and with Brett, and there was a lot to talk about. So the first things first, so Brett Goldstein, you would know him for playing the role of Roy Kent in Ted Lasso.
Love him.
Love Ted Lasso, love his role in it. And in that series, of course it's a comedy, he's known for kind of balancing both heart and humour all at the same time. So I asked him, I kind of wanted to know how he did that this time around with the character of Simon, not just as an actor, but as a writer too.
Well, it's a thing, one of the, like, having all the humour in the film, part of the rule that my co-writer, Will Bridges, who also directed it, had, was like, it is their special sauce, is their humour, is their way they make each other laugh. But it is also the thing that stops them. It's the shield they use not to say what they mean. And one of the rules we had in terms of how they're funny is that they're funny people in the same way that I think we're funny people. In real life, they're real life funny people, but they don't talk like they're in a sitcom. They don't have really witty, clever jokes. We kind of had a rule that if it sounded too much like a written joke, it had to go. They could only be funny in the way that real people are funny. And it was just things like that to try and keep everything feeling as sort of naturalistic and real as possible. And that applied to Simon, to Laura, to all the characters.
And of course you met Imogen over Zoom, and I've read that you knew immediately that she had to play the character of Laura. So I wanted to ask, what is it about Imogen that you knew straight away, this is my girl, she's perfect for this role?
Well, it was the humour, actually. It was the fact that within 5 minutes we were crying, laughing. And I didn't expect that, because she's a very serious actor. She's done very serious things. And I thought she'd be very serious. And we were laughing so much, so quickly. And I felt like I'd known her forever. I was like, oh, this is it. This is what we need.
I'm guessing you guys broke character on set quite a bit then.
Yeah.
Yes. We just had a real natural chemistry. We're just very kismet. I felt really comfortable around Brett. I felt really understood. I don't think I'm that hard to understand, but you know, life is full of strangers and voids, and it's nice to kind of just be around someone where you feel like you can be totally yourself. And
it's nice not to be a void.
It's good not to be a void, and I think we just we care about each other a lot, and that was there during the making of the film, and outside of that too. And yeah, we're obviously very different from our characters, but there's a lot of us in there as well, I think.
Very honest words from them, and I actually like that when she was like, there's some of us in those characters as well, I think. And actually Imogen Poots, she's a real star to watch. You might know her from 28 Weeks Later, A Long Way Down, which she starred with Pierce Brosnan and Toni Collette, Jane Eyre with Judi Dench and Michael Fassbender, and she was also in The Father with Olivia Colman and Anthony Hopkins. That was of course what he won the Academy Award for. But then I asked her as well, because both of these characters had such great chemistry, I asked if the conflict scenes were actually harder to film than they expected.
It's very, very difficult to inhabit those scenes, because what you've just attempted to do is, whether it's artificial, you know, at the beginning, is to care deeply for this person, care deeply for your co-star, and it's very jarring to then have to create conflict in that way, and I found it very upsetting. Yeah, I remember one of our arguments, found it very upsetting.
Yeah, it was upsetting. It was a bummer.
Yeah.
We were having such a nice time.
Yeah, I know.
That's also quite cute as well, just from like a human to human perspective. Like, I love that. And, you know, a lot of this film or a lot of the plotline is dealing with kind of unspoken feelings and kind of what could have been. Has there ever been like a moment in either of your lives that you guys have thought like kind of, what if, that's kind of shaped the way that you've approached this project?
I think those moments happen all the time. I think they happen all the time. I think that is the sort of tragedy of existence, is how hard it is to say the thing when it happens. So, I mean, it's probably happened twice today already.
I think there's also truth to things not meant to be, and you think they are at the time, but then ultimately, as life goes on, it's sort of like you can see why that wasn't sort of the right thing. But otherwise, you're living your life in kind of this string of regret, and I don't think that's you're not paying attention to the present in that way, because you have to sort of make some mistakes to kind of crystallize as a real person, maybe. So I don't know, but it changes all the time. I'm a very fickle person. Don't listen to anything I say.
Josh, thank you very much indeed. We're going to take a quick break, but we do have some exciting breaking news for you. Showbiz royalty, big news, so stay with us right here.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it's Petrie here with you, and we're crossing live now to Michelle Pollina, the fabulous Michelle Pollina, Fox News Headlines 24/7 entertainment reporter in LA, with some staggering breaking news.
Oh, first of all, it's so lovely to see you, Petrie. It's always lovely to be here. I'm stunned by this news, maybe because I have been on the red carpet with them pretty much my entire career, both separately and then together. But Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman have separated after 19 years together. So stunned by this news. I'm heartbroken because out of all the people, I tell everybody the same thing. Who are your favorite? Everybody asks me, who's your favorite people in Hollywood? This couple. Every time I've talked to them on the red carpet, they acknowledge me. They say hello. Oh, like they even if they're faking remembering me,
who cares?
I am just right. It does not matter. Interviewing them, they seemed more so like my other favorite couple is Denzel Washington and his wife. Just gorgeous, lovely beings. Keith and Nicole were champions of each other. Every time I would ask about Nicole's work, she would mention Keith's. If I was talking to Keith, he would mention her work. they were a team together. They were together right after Nicole, about a year or two after, a few years actually. It was 2001. I'm trying to get my dates correct for her and Tom Cruise. That was devastating to her. When Tom Cruise and her broke up, that was devastating to her. Now I'm learning, according to TMZ, she did not want this. They had been living separately. Keith bought another place. They've been living separately since the beginning of the summer. TMZ reporting that it's one-sided. She's been trying to save their marriage. They, of course, have 2 kids together. 2 gorgeous little girls, 17-year-old Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret, who's only 14. It's a really sad news. They are such lovely people, both separately and together. So, really sad news.
I mean, it really is, because every time you see them together, they always seemed to but then you know, you just never know. And I know you're a romantic and I'm a cynic, but
it's why we get together. This works.
This works. But yeah, I mean, it's always sad, isn't it, when people break up, especially if it is one-sided. I feel really sorry. We've all been in that boat, and I feel really sorry for her if she's upset. She's not having an easy time at the moment, is she? Is she suing her daughter?
I did not hear.
I saw one of her daughters on TikTok. Talking.
Oh, from Tom Cruise's. Yes, there was lots of yes. Their 2 kids together that they adopted. Yes, apparently because now the rumor is this is just this split was because they had differences in faiths and you know, Tom Cruise really is indebted and tied to the Church of Scientology. And it just was not the direction that Nicole was going. And you know, the 2 kids that they adopted together are both devout Scientologists. So there is a rift there. My heart breaks right now for Nicole.
Yeah, it's a lot to go through, isn't it? It really is. Well, I do wish her well. She's a great actor. I absolutely love pretty much everything that she does. Another person who I absolutely love is Dolly Parton.
Right.
Who couldn't love her?
She canceled. Right? Yeah, everybody loves her. This is why we care deeply that she has canceled 5 dates of her Las Vegas residency. It makes me nervous for a couple reasons. Earlier this year, she had a health battle. Now, she's saying this is for health reasons. She rescheduled, if any of you have gotten tickets, for September for her upcoming residency. We don't have word yet of what the health issue is, but she says it's just to take care of some health-related issues. Earlier this year, she did have a cancellation due to kidney stones. So, and also this year, she lost her husband of, I think, 60 years. Yeah. Carl Dean. They've been together for so long. This makes me nervous.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it? Again, if you lose somebody that is your right arm like that after so many years. Right. And she is so loved. I mean, she's joked and said that it must be time for my 100,000-mile checkup. But
yes, greatest. Great line. So Dolly.
It's so
Dolly.
Yeah. They said it's not the usual trip to see my plastic surgeon. So forever, you know, got that country girl humour going on. How old is Dolly Parton now? Do you know off the top of your head?
I think 79, maybe.
Wow.
Maybe.
She looks incredible, doesn't she? She really does.
I've met her a number of times. And
79. You're bang on. She's 79. Yeah.
Yeah. she's an extraordinary human being.
Yeah, I mean, such a good person. All the money she spends on books.
Like you feel
yeah.
her energy.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary.
She is just a good human being. J.K. Rowling, though, doesn't think Emma Watson is a good human being, does she?
I pulled up this tweet because I was like, wow, okay. I actually thought what she posted on X was pretty great, considering, I mean, when you're battling, like, don't go to battle with an acclaimed author and writer.
No.
Do not.
No.
So J.K. responded to Emma Watson, who talked about their feud, their ongoing feud, and Emma Watson basically, you know, was raised on that set of Harry Potter. And
yeah, she'd be nothing
they are,
about that.
Right. They are feuding over... J.K. has been a staunch women advocate and does not believe that trans women are women. She believes in biological sex, biological females. And Emma Watson took a stand against that with the other actors. Pretty much everybody in Hollywood called her transphobic, called J.K. Rowling transphobic. J.K. has stepped away from it for a very long time, stayed away from saying anything about these actors. But today she weighed in and she said, and I'm quoting from her in part, Emma Watson's and her co-stars have every right to embrace gender identity ideology. Such beliefs are legally protected, and I wouldn't want to see any of them threatened with loss of work or violence or death. However, Emma in particular have made it clear over the years that they think our former professional association gives them a particular right, nay, obligation, to critique me and my views in public. Years after they finish acting, they continue to assume the role of de facto spokesperson for the world I created. When you've known people since they were 10 years old, it's hard to shake a certain protectiveness. Until quite recently, I hadn't managed to throw off the memory of children who needed to be gently coaxed through their dialogue in a big, scary film. For the past years, I've repeatedly declined invitations from journalists to comment on Emma specifically, most notably on the Witch Trials of J.K. Rowling, great podcast. Ironically, I told the producers that I didn't want her to be hounded as a result of anything I've said. And now, she went on to say, Emma has so little experience of real life. She's ignorant of how ignorant she is. She'll never need a homeless shelter. She'll never need to be placed on a mixed-sex public hospital ward. I'd be astounded if she's been in a high street changing room since childhood. Her public bathroom is single occupancy and comes with a security man.
I mean, J.K., like she said, everybody's got a right to their opinion, but they haven't got a right to her opinion, right? So, Michelle, I adore you. Thank you. Lovely to see you. News next.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It is Tuesday, the 30th of September, and joining me to look through today's newspapers is Phil Dave. And Phil Dave, our chic geek, is also an editor and presenter here at Talk Radio. How are you, Phil?
I am all the better for seeing you, Lady Hosken. I have to confess, I am on the tail end of a slight cold, which is probably why I thought it best not to be in the studio with you this evening. But well, anyway, yes, I'm muddling through and hopefully sounding a little less croaky than I did 24 hours ago.
You're sounding incredibly butch, it has to be said. So there you go.
Now I know I'm ill.
Right, let's have a look at some newspapers, Phil. We've got to pick the Washington Post just to tap into the American story. And of course, it was too late for the big news about the Trump and Netanyahu agreeing to a new peace plan for Gaza. Nobody from Gaza, as far as I'm aware, was actually at that meeting, but you know, they've come to an agreement. So we're now waiting to see what the people of Gaza have to say about it, and more importantly, what Hamas have to say about it. So this paper doesn't reflect that, but all of the British papers do. So we will get to that in just a moment. The Washington Post, there's this big meeting happening on Tuesday with Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War. I think he's now called, because it's the Department of War now. So he must be the Secretary of War, which doesn't quite work. But the Secretary of Defence...
Doesn't sound like a very nice title,
it's
really,
not
does it?
really a good title. But Donald Trump is going to meet, to join with Pete Hegseth at this meeting of the nation's top generals. Now, this is a highly unusual meeting, and there's lots of speculation as to what this could mean. A lot of people are very nervous about the direction that Donald Trump is taking the military, with the National Guard and the Marines turning up in civilian streets.
Look, yes, people are nervous about what Donald Trump's doing, but it's primarily because I would suggest that he's probably not going down as conventional paths have dictated in years gone by. Now,
or legal paths, because he can't legally deploy these without the governor of that area asking for help. So he's broken the law by doing it, except in Washington.
He's always a divisive figure. There's not really any two ways about it, and I don't think that there will ever be a time when people will turn around and say, oh, do you know what? Donald Trump's absolutely done the right thing here. Now, of course, the legalities of it, I'm not going to profess to be an expert in American law, so I can't sort of sit here and say one way or another. I trust you on that heck of a lot more than I trust myself on it. And needless to say that I would like to think that any leader would stick to the law, because otherwise, if they think they're above it, it's obviously not a good look. But at the same time, the main reason I think that people are nervous about Trump is because that he has a certain disregard for what predecessors, if you like, have done, and just sort of graciously accepted as the norm, if you like. Now, look, obviously, if it's sticking with the law, that's the optimum. You'd like to think that any world leader would stick to the law. But at the same time, in years gone by, I don't remember America being quite as much of a mess as it's in.
Yeah.
Not that it's an excuse to break the law, don't get me wrong, but I just don't...
It's certainly not an excuse for the president to break the law.
It's a very roundabout way saying is that we seem to be living in very strange times in the Western world, and I don't really know what's normal anymore. I don't know if any of us do.
Yeah, it's well, we'll wait and see what this meeting is. Hopefully it's just a pep talk, but there are some concerns. The other story on the front here is at least 4 dead in the Michigan church shooting. police are saying, and this is when somebody drove their vehicle into the front of a church, a Mormon church, and opened fire, and then literally set fire to the church. This appears to have been an army veteran, and also later on that day there was another mass shooting by another army veteran. It seems to be a real crisis in America at the moment with the number. I mean, we've always been used to a lot of mass shootings, but that number is really climbing.
There are two trains of thought on this. I mean, first and foremost, let me say that any place of worship is supposed to, at best, obviously be somewhere where someone goes to be alone with their thoughts, or possibly with people who share their thoughts in a religious sense. But it should also be a sanctuary. It should not be somewhere where people are worried about their lives being taken from them. Now, I have to say that sort of in this country, and certainly in other Western countries as well, synagogues are actually usually quite heavily guarded. It's nothing new that actually there has always been guards who stand patrol outside synagogues, because we've never known any different way of life. We've always had to have that because there are so many threats to Judaism. But as a result of it, it means that we can feel safe within our place of worship. And what is mind-blowing to me is that anyone would think it is okay to break into a place of worship and then start destroying lives or taking lives.
Well, there was the Catholic school, wasn't there, who were at worship as well, and those little kids were killed.
Unbelievable. It's just revolting.
It's horrifying.
So revolting.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, it seems like a really trivial word to say. What can you say to that? I mean, there aren't any words strong enough to describe what it's like. But in terms of what you were saying, in terms of the rising gun crime in America, I think that sort of what we need to do is think very logically about what's causing this, not excusing it, but what's causing it, rather than for anyone to be up in arms and say, and again, sorry, that's no pun intended when I say that, but when people say we've got to convince America they should ban guns, they shouldn't be allowed, the amendment that says right to bear arms is ridiculous. That may be to countries that don't have guns, but for whatever reason, in American culture, that is normal.
I mean, it is normal, but there are, there are things that can be done to stop the kind of automatic rifle weapons that
there are, but banning it altogether is not one of them.
But it's never going to happen. There are more guns than there are people in America. You're never going to get rid of them.
But apart from any, even if, let's just say hypothetically, by some miracle of miracles, that there was something that made a president of the US turn around and say, right, that's it, we realise how ridiculous this is, we need to ban guns. All that's going to happen is that those guns that are already out there would just go illegal. That's all that's going to happen. So you're never going to stop it. At least this way, there is a vague hope of having them licensed and being able to track them. That's sort of the vague hope, not that it obviously helps the victims of mass shootings.
No.
But I would say that in terms of how to tackle the problem, what is causing this upset in America, I'm not so sure I have the answer, but I would argue that the obvious thing to do is to try and find out what is causing this and why people are turning to such disgusting protests. I mean, we've seen in recent weeks, obviously, the murder of Charlie Kirk, also this shooting in the Mormon church, as you rightly identify, this Catholic school. There was another incident not so long ago with a synagogue where people were shot as well. It never ends that we hear about these mass shootings. But what is causing it? And I actually think that people need to wake up and realise that America is not the happy place it once was.
It definitely is not. I think it's
we know that. No, we know that because we can see it from an outside perspective. But why the powers that be, whether it be Trump, Biden, whoever, why did they never sort of say, there's something really wrong in our country and we need to get to the root cause of it?
I have no idea, but it's getting worse. It's getting absolutely by the day. My heart breaks for the American people. It really does. Right, let's start looking at the UK papers. The Sun newspaper is our first pick, of course, and near to the title, it's a flag: Trump and Blair to run Gaza. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. Well, let's see, shall we? I mean, I would argue, I have to say this, I think it's fair to say that sort of whoever has been in charge of Gaza, not that they have been much in charge over the last 20 years, certainly since Israel withdrew. I can't imagine that a combination of Trump and Blair would be much worse. But then on the other hand, I think to myself...
Oh, Blair, that well-known peacemaker.
No,
Blair.
But then on the other hand, I think to myself, haven't innocent, truly innocent Palestinian people suffered enough without sending Blair in?
Yeah.
But at the same time, let's see. I don't know. I can't predict the future, but let's see what happens.
I just wish that Tony Blair would do one.
It is amazing. And of course, let us not forget that we don't completely escape the wrath of Blair in this country, because of course in recent days we've heard these revolting plans of digital IDs, which of course was mooted first by Tony Blair.
He's been desperate to get us to have this control over us, and it's astonishing for a Labour government that
also I read a report as well.
Honestly, it's making me
I read a couple of reports as well, and I have to say that I don't know how true this is, so please take it with a massive pinch of salt, but there are reports, I should say,
I've heard
that suggest that Ewan Blair, which of course is Sir Tony Blair's son, it's his company that could be offered the contract for the digital IDs.
Yeah, it hasn't been confirmed.
It really hasn't, so please take it with a pinch of salt.
I've heard the same rumours, and Tony Blair is heavily invested in that company. He has been desperate for us to get this digital ID. We don't need digital ID. It is a complete lie and fallacy that a digital ID will somehow suddenly stop workers on the black market. It is absolutely bogus. You and I both know, you're in management for goodness sake, people have to give their passport for a right to work in this company and every company in the country. If you're going to take workers from the black market, you're not going to suddenly go, oh no, there's digital ID, I can't take you. It's rubbish. We're being lied to again.
Yes.
Have you signed the petition yet?
How does that fare? I have yet to get around to it, but I will.
Do it.
How, might I ask, does it compare anyway when you've got a situation where someone potentially is on some sort of temporary visa? Do they have to be given a temporary digital ID? How does all of this work? It's no idea.
No idea.
I don't even think they know.
And everybody's now talking about online and stuff, talking about getting dumb phones. So getting rid of stashing your smartphone and saying, no, I've only got a dumb,
I see what you mean. Yeah, the good old-fashioned. Good old-fashioned phone. I don't blame them at all. I'm very tempted.
Download it. I will declare myself.
I'm very tempted to do that because actually, ever since binning off social media, which I did a few weeks back now, I can honestly say I've never been happier.
Me too. I don't look at it
so relieved. Yeah. So relieved to get rid of social media. It's an absolute waste of space. You've got sort of Facebook, which is just a massive adverts. Twitter, or X, or whatever stupid name they want to call it, is just a cesspit. And then Instagram is full of people living their best life, quote unquote, which of course we all know is a facade.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, dumb phones are the way to go, and this will be the end of this Labour government if they try to force us to mandate it, to say that we have to have this. Get lost, is what I would say.
Well, I strongly suspect that there will be successive governments who would threaten to reverse it, so we'll see what happens. But anyway.
They better. But you see, the thing is, once it's in, they all love the little bit of power, don't they? They go, oh, it wasn't us that brought it in.
Well, income tax was only ever supposed to be temporary.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They all go, oh, no, we'll get rid of it. And then they see the benefits of it. And of course, this digital ID is just a precursor to digital money. And then they've got complete control over us.
Oh, total control over us.
The Sun newspaper.
Oh, sorry, yes, The Sun. Sorry, beg your pardon.
J.K. Rowling and the gobful of ire. I was just talking about this with Michelle Pollino. A really good tweet, actually, by J.K. is saying, look, you're entitled to your opinion and I'm entitled to mine. Stop attacking me, basically, in paraphrasing.
And quite a dignified response, I might add, as well. Because the truth is, this obviously relates to Emma Watson, who played Hermione Granger in the films, and of course, let's be honest, would be nowhere near as successful.
She'd be nothing
if
without.
J.K. Rowling hadn't have created the weird and wonderful world of Harry Potter. And I just can't get over the way that sort of the self-entitled, wretched generation that is the not Gen Z, what is it, millennials, that's it, because she's a millennial. Actually, technically speaking, I think actually I class as millennial as well. I'm an older millennial, but still. But the wretched way in which millennials behave, with this sort of self-entitled attitude, which means that they are so prepared to publicly bite the hand that feeds, is really quite extraordinary. And I just can't get my head around the fact that she doesn't seem to realise that if it weren't for J.K. Rowling, she would be nothing.
No, and also the inability to say, let's agree to disagree. Yeah. Right? That is just it. They have absolutely no ability to do that, and that is so boring. Let's take a quick break, Phil, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it is Petrie here with you, and with me is Phil Dave, and we're going through today's newspapers, today's front pages. Now, the Metro, Phil, things can only get bitter. This is in reference to...
Welcome back, Metro. Loving the headline.
Loving the headline. This is, of course, in relation to the Labour Party conference, which appears to spend more time talking about reform than it does about Labour.
When I watch any of these party conferences, I don't care what they think about other parties. I know they don't like the other parties.
Of course
That's
they don't.
why
That's
they're
the whole
not them.
point. Yes.
That's why they're a different choice. If I wanted to hear the thoughts of some sort of rambling lunatic on what they thought of the different parties, honestly, I only need to turn to my own family to hear that. I don't need to watch a party conference with the so-called Chancellor banging on for half of the speech, I reckon, if you actually analyse it and break it down, about half of the speech about how detrimental reform will be to the country, how reform are trying to tear the country apart, how reform have no plan. Just shut up and tell me what your policy is.
Yeah.
That's all I want to hear. And I still wasn't completely convinced I even got what her policies are.
No, I mean, the only thing I learned about Rachel Reeves is that she's had voice coaching and started to try and sound like Margaret Thatcher.
I hope she kept the receipt.
And definitely deepened her voice. But I mean, was that she sat talking to a little boy playing Lego, and that...
Was this for the Breakfast Club thing?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
But also when she was talking about how well the country was doing and how...
Oh my goodness me.
I honestly,
what cloud does she live in?
I just honestly, I was like, which country are you talking about? Because that is not this one. You know, she wants to sort of make us feel richer, but is going to look at us and lie, literally lie during the budget to say, I'm not raising your taxes, whilst keeping the thresholds in the same place, which is going to push people into paying more tax. Just be honest.
Yeah, this is what really bites with British politics and has done for the last goodness only knows how many years, is I can't get over how stupid they think we are.
That's it. That's exactly it. They
really
believe we're dumb.
I can't believe it. And don't get me wrong. It is perfectly possible that there are a number of people out there who, I'm not going to say are stupid, but maybe don't take as much of an interest in politics, and as a result don't fully understand what the Chancellor and other gobs on sticks might mean when they say certain things. But then I would like to think that stations like Talk help people understand it in slightly better English than maybe the politicians speak. There's an irony. The bottom line is that if you're going to have a government who insists on, let's be honest, bleeding us dry, right, then just say it. Please, just have the backbone and say that you don't really have any plan other than to take every single penny you can get your grotty hands on and make life an absolute misery for most people. I have got to tell you that as much as I don't feel sorry for myself based on the income that I'm on, I'm not going to pretend that I'm rolling in it, because far from it. I live in a very modest flat in Hertfordshire because I can't afford London. And even if, right, that wasn't such a sort of a hardship, because I realise that there are a lot of people who actually can't afford their own place. So, like I said, I don't feel sorry for myself per se. But I have had to make considerable cuts recently because mortgage payments are going up, bills are going up, cost of living in general, sort of supermarket and stuff like that, is going up, travelling to work is going up. And as a result of it, I actually now, for a consecutive number of months, have had to keep dipping into savings because I can't save anymore. I don't have an ability to save money. And the only conclusion I've drawn now is I actually do have to consider getting additional work to what I'm doing in order to bolster it, or I may have to make very serious sacrifices.
I mean, you speak for so many people. And look, the cost of everything is just absolutely eye-watering. I mean, I'm at that stage of the year where I've got car insurance coming up, I've got house insurance coming up, I've got the TV licence nonsense coming. Everything seems to come up at this point of the year, and it's just like, what? That's all that money gone.
To give you an example, right, and I don't really sort of mind saying this publicly because some people might listen to this and think it's a nothing, you don't know how lucky you are, but then there are others who I hope will be horrified when they hear this, because I certainly was. I recently was told that the service charge for the block I live in, last year it cost me £900 for the year, which is still pretty steep.
That's substantial, yeah.
Yeah. This year, 2,100. And do you know what one of the biggest scandals?
Whoa.
You know what one of the biggest scandals is? I'm legally obligated to pay it. And it could go, there's no cap. This is one of the biggest things that I think is one of the really sort of tarnishes our nation in terms of law. And one thing that is major that needs to be corrected sooner or later is leasehold situation. Because if I'd have known how absolutely treacherous it could be, and not entirely sure I would have gone down this particular route, because in particular with new build properties, with old leaseholds it's not quite as bad because councils are more involved with those. But with new builds, it's almost like the government has handed almost all power over to developers, and as a result of it, what they say is that you're, as a leaseholder, legally obligated to pay a service charge that will be issued on an annual basis, on also sort of factoring in a degree of costs, which basically just gives an open door to the freeholders to charge whatever the heck they want to charge. And as a result of it, I've now seen sort of more than 100% increase on what I paid last year. So I'm not in a pickle yet, but I have to do something to make sure I don't go in a pickle in future. But
that is brutal, and so many people are facing these costs, and the nerve of this government to try and gaslight us into believing that things are getting better and that things are getting cheaper and that we can. It's honestly,
not true.
We all know it's not true when we go to the supermarket. I mean, it's like, it's not true, and our pockets are being picked by absolutely everybody every time you go anywhere. It feels like it's never ending.
It's legal mugging.
It is. It really is.
It's any way to describe it. And I actually, with this sort of dramatic cost increase, I can almost understand why people prefer to deal in cash, because then that way they can't be accused of having enough money to be picked on by the government.
Yeah.
I almost get it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't encourage it, but I almost get it.
I'm starting to build up my cash, because that'll be the next thing, they'll ban cash. I had a dream, actually, last night, so I was so wound up about the digital ID after I'd emailed my MP and done all of those things. And I had a dream that I was interviewing Keir Starmer, God forfend, and he admitted to me.
No, God forfend, are you joking me? You'd put him in his place. I'd love it.
I actually would. Yeah, I'd love it, but I'd be so angry that he wouldn't answer my questions. But and he admitted to me in this dream that they were getting rid of cash. So that
oh dear.
You see. Let's have a look quickly at the. Oh God, I hope not. The Daily Star news with a wink.
I'm going to let you say this headline.
Yeah, I'm going to say it very carefully. John, actually, the producer, went, "Can you be careful with that?" And I said, "Do I have to?" Keir tells Farage, "Fork you, Nige." And this is because there is a fork in the road with this country, choosing between decency and reform.
Right. Isn't it amazing how Starmer seems to be under the delusion that somehow his government is akin to decency, when we've already established that they have no problem whatsoever robbing some of the, taxing some of the most vulnerable in society, not least of all the Mayor of London seems to think that sort of by putting in a ULEZ charge, an ultra-low emissions zone charge, which of course really only affects the poorest of Londoners who can't afford to change their car to something a bit more green and something more compliant. Let's put that to one side and then look on a national scale where the Labour government are the ones who are very happy to take money off of pensioners so that they couldn't necessarily heat their homes. And apparently, I'm not going to pretend that I'm the biggest fan of everything Nigel Farage has ever done. Believe me, he's said some things in the past that I find abhorrent. But the bottom line is that I respect the fact that democracy is just that, is that some people will say things you like and some things they say that you don't like. Put that to one side. The fact that he thinks that his party is decency over reform being
I mean, you look at the number of ministers who've had to resign through a lack of decency. Yes, quite the hypocrisy, I would say.
But it is actually symptomatic of those who are really on the extreme of the left of this country, where they sort of are so blinded by their own sort of do-good attitude that they can't see fault in anything they do, and that's actually as dangerous, I think, as those who have extreme policies that cause harm.
Well, I don't know if you heard I saw this the other day, and I thought this is the best way to describe politics, is a horseshoe, right? So the far left and the far right are actually closer.
Yeah, meeting in the middle.
Meeting in the middle. And that is such an accurate way of looking at politics. Anybody too far one way or the other, they actually are the same side, different sides of the same coin. They really are.
I put it to you, if politics is a horseshoe, for crying out loud, call in the farrier, please.
Yeah, well, and also
get it changed.
Get a bag for all the horse as well.
Yes.
Quick break on that note, and we'll be back.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, you're with Talk and you're with Petrie, and I'm here until the top of the hour with Phil Dave, Talk broadcaster and editor. Let's have a look at the Daily Express, shall we, Phil? New raid on household incomes likely after Reeves warns, I hate it, we've got hard choices to make. We've got hard choices to make. They don't make any hard choices. Their money still stays. They still get their grace and favour homes. They still get their rent paid for. They still get their council tax paid for. They still get their gas and electricity bills paid for by us, the taxpayer. So we've got to face hard choices, not them.
But don't worry, we're all in this together.
Oh, yeah, we're all in it together. Yeah. So the Daily Express, it's the same old tax rise pain with Labour.
Yes, so Rachel Reeves, this is the front page of Daily Express, Rachel Reeves lit the fuse for another tax bombshell as she warned households of further painful increases. The Chancellor yesterday all but revealed that she will have no choice but to fill a £50 billion
it was 30
black
about
hole.
an hour ago.
I thought it was 20 billion last time I checked. And hang on a second, wasn't the 20 billion black hole because of the mess the Tories left? So where has the additional 30 billion come from now? Because that must be Labour that's created the 30 billion. Yeah. Because if it was only 20 billion made by the Tories, my maths isn't brilliant. But if it's a 50 billion black hole, then technically speaking, 30 billion of that must have been by this government in the last year. That's a bit worrying.
It's the immediate pay rises they gave, isn't it, when they first came in? 10 billion here, 10 billion there.
Yeah, which they're now after more, of course, these unions. That no one saw that coming, did they?
Nobody saw that coming, but the unions have gone, we got some off Labour, we'll try and get some more.
Should we try that? Should we just all walk out? I'm not saying we will, boss, don't worry, but I was just saying, should we just all walk out and just see what happens until we demand a pay rise. I know exactly what happened. We'll just be fine.
I know exactly what would happen. That we'd be replaced within about 2 minutes.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
That is on a bad day. I mean, come on. The iPaper, again, referring to Rachel Reeves, signals tax hikes as workers face a stealth tax of over £600. So this is what I'm talking about, the lying that they're going to do, and if they reduce the point at which you have to start paying VAT and things like that. That's the sneaky, dirty tricks of tax rises without telling. And people are going, well, that won't affect me because I don't have my own company, so I don't have to pay VAT. It will affect you because 20% will then go on every service that you pay for. So that is again another another burden to working people, that she's going to say, I didn't put money up on working people, I'm just doing this so that businesses start paying VAT at a lower rate. And of course they then have to charge it to their customers.
I was going to say, and who gets the knock-on effect of that? Let's think about that, Rachel from accounts. Look, the thing that the phrase that she used, which just so annoyed me, was when she said about harsh global headwinds. Do you recall that line? Harsh global headwinds. So in other words, what she's saying is, it's not our fault we have to do this. It's the global economy. Well, it might be that the global economy is in a bit of an awkward moment for now, but it doesn't mean that you can't do things to help people, not hinder them.
Yeah, it's all just pain, and absolutely we know
it's bluster.
It's gain.
Nonsense.
There will be no gain for anybody in this country with this next budget. Then The Guardian. Accept Gaza peace deal or face the consequences, Hamas told. Now, Hamas has said they will look at the proposal in good faith. But
how nice of them.
Yeah, Netanyahu has said, well, if they don't accept this, we reserve the right to continue doing what we're doing.
Right. Well, I don't blame them, really. I mean, Hamas must be removed from the region. There's not really a two-way about it. It's very simple.
But even if they lose power, right, even if they have nothing to do with the new government, which I suspect they won't. You don't.
Well, they won't have much of a choice.
No, they won't. But you can't kill an idea.
No, you can't kill an idea.
Issue. It's the same with ISIS. It's the same with all of those. You cannot kill an idea.
No, you cannot kill an idea, but what you can do is send a very clear message to them, is try and implement that idea on any democratic or peaceful part of the world, and you will face consequences. Because unfortunately, as much as, and look, I know that sort of we've spoken at length in the past about, God knows we've spoken at length about the Middle East on talk period, forget you and I talking about it, just in general, our output seems to be consumed by it, as does the rest of the UK media. But you can't reason with people who can't see reason. It's just not possible.
No, I mean, they're a terrorist organisation in the same way you can't reason with ISIS or Daesh,
absolutely,
or whatever we're meant to call them.
Yeah.
But my worry is that that I mean, I certainly remember in Bosnia, the idea for the Serbs killing the Bosnians was to kill every male in the family, thinking that you kill the father, the grandfather, then you kill the idea. But you don't. You seed that idea deeper and deeper, and it grows back stronger. And that is the worry. I don't know what the solution is, but I certainly have seen what isn't the solution.
Yeah. Well, I'd say that part of the solution is definitely removing Hamas from power.
Yes,
because
without a shadow of a doubt.
For as long as they are in power, then believe me, the only people who will suffer are the people who identify as Palestinian. Because I promise you, as much as Hamas and all of the proxies try and make Israel's life a misery, I've been there recently. I have spent 15 days in Israel, and it was as good as carrying on as normal. So I promise you, you don't make Israelis' life a misery. You might try, but they'll fail. So it's only people who identify as Palestinian will suffer for this, because they don't.
As they have been.
They're not offered the same level as protection as the Israeli government offers the Israeli people. So hence the Iron Dome, for example, is the missile interception system that the Israeli government has spent billions of dollars on trying to implement and does implement it. The sirens went off twice whilst I was there, ran to a shelter. Threat was neutralized in 10 minutes each time. So just 10 minutes out of the day, and I carried on as normal with my holiday. But I know that if I was, heaven forbid, in Gaza, there wouldn't be any warning siren telling me that there was a rocket coming. It would just almost hit. To be fair, the Israelis do warn civilians where they're going to strike, but that's only if Hamas lets them leave that region. And if they do strike, needless to say that their livelihoods, their homes, their possessions, everything get blown to smithereens. That's if they're lucky enough to survive themselves. And all because Hamas are reigning terror on that part of the world. If we actually sort of had a half-decent sort of leadership for the people who identify as Palestinian, wouldn't it be wonderful to think that it could actually sort of wind up as somewhere as forward-thinking as someone like the UAE or Saudi Arabia? You know, forward-thinking might not be what a lot of people see some of their customs, but customs are very different to actually the way that they are turning into developed nations, and actually far more developed than parts of the West now, just for the record.
I mean, it would be amazing. I mean, there's a hell of a lot to do to rebuild, and of course they'll have Tony Blair helping them, so that's good.
Goody.
Good, excellent.
Maybe they'll get given ID cards.
Oh yeah, they'll all have to have digital ID
That's
cards.
how we get rid of Hamas, actually, because then true Palestinians will be given ID cards and we'll know who the genuine ones are.
That's because that'll work. Yeah,
that's the answer.
In the same way as it will work here to stop the boats.
Hello, is that Ewan? Sorry. Allegedly.
The Daily Mail. Reeves plots a VAT attack on private healthcare. So they've gone after private school fees now, and she's now plotting a VAT raid on the middle classes, because it's always the middle classes that pay way more tax than anybody else, right? All the rich are funneling it away and sneaking it off, but they're going to go after private healthcare now, apparently.
Wouldn't it be nice to think that just once that Rachel Reeves will admit that her policies are based on the politics of envy? It's just very simple. I can't understand her rationale. I really can't, because attacking private schools has seen some of the private schools close down, and as a result of it apply more pressure to the state system, costing more money to the taxpayers. And it's all that's going to happen is exactly the same with attacking private healthcare, is it's going to put even more pressure on the NHS, as if the NHS can cope with the pressure it's under now. How stupid does she have to be before she realises?
All for the sake of $2 billion. That's how much it'll raise.
It's just mind-blowing. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry, but I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, anyone who knows me will verify this, I am not by any stretch of the imagination a mathematical genius, right? Far from it. In fact, maths, one of my worst subjects.
Me too.
Terrible. Son of an accountant, that means I never had to worry about it. But let me tell you, if you are going to make all of this hullabaloo for the sake of $2 billion, which in this economy is not very much. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I had $2 billion, I'd know what to do with it. But at the same time, on an economy scale, it's not very much. They really think this is going to be worth it, because it's not going to be $2 billion. How much more money is going to have to be spent propping up the NHS to make up for that $2 billion that they make out of raiding private healthcare?
Yeah, it's the same short-sighted nonsense of the politics of envy, as you say, that has seen these private schools being closed down, and all of those children flooding into the state sector. And it's interesting because as a parent, if you're paying private school fees, you're paying twice for that child.
Totally.
So you're already paying for the state school, but you've removed your child from that, and you're paying again.
Which was technically one of the reasons why VAT was never introduced to school fees, is because it was widely believed that there was already a tax paid on education, therefore it wasn't necessary to do it again.
Yeah, exactly that. But, you know, when they're grubbing around at the back of the sofa, they're going to go for these things, aren't they, that they think will be popular, because they believe that everybody has the same politics of envy that they have, which they don't.
Oh, God, I'm really sorry. I very rarely would I say the H word, but I really hate politicians sometimes.
I hate them. I hate them all, all of the time. Having spent many years trying to interview the slippery toad-like creatures. Let's take a break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a very good morning to you. This is Talk and it is Petrie here with you, and with me is Phil Dave, broadcaster and editor here at Talk. We've had a message from Gary. He says, I think that this digital ID is laughable for the reasons the governments give. I have petitioned against it and I don't trust any government with our information. Good man.
I would go with that.
Yeah.
If I, just by the way, on digital IDs, because genuinely, if I thought for a second that it was going to make the slightest difference to the situation with illegal migration, I might be open to it. I just don't believe it is. I think it's being used as an excuse to slip it in through the back door. That's all I believe it is.
Of course it is. It's an absolute lie. It says, on another note, I'm glad to see Phil Dave on. I was worried about him as he's disappeared from X. Send me love to you both. And that's from Gary.
How very kind. Yes, it is true. I have disappeared from X, and very gladly so. No offence, Gary. It's quite simple. Is because that X is, in my humble opinion, an absolute cesspit of misinformation and. I was going to say a word, I couldn't say that. Absolute nonsense is the best word to describe, sorry. And I just decided that I just didn't want to waste my time with it anymore, basically.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm at peace. I'm at peace. Not
Ditto.
Yeah. The Mirror for today. Starmer's NHS revolution. Now, I did see earlier on when I was watching the news that doctors are really upset about this, and they're considering strike action, and actually I agree with them about this. This is patients will soon have access to online hospitals in a bid to slash NHS waiting times. Now the trouble is that these appointments are reliant on the patient understanding the urgency of their condition.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? Right, you know when you have to get in touch and make an appointment online to see your GP, and because if you phone in the morning you get one that day, but if you think, oh, it's not that serious, I just want to check XYZ. You have to fill in an online form, but you don't really know if it's urgent or not. That's why you need to speak to a doctor. So this idea is the system will create 8.5 million appointments in 3 years, offering virtual chats with specialist doctors.
I just don't really know what to even say about it, to be honest with you, because whatever happens, if people don't realise that the only way to truly get a grip on the NHS is, and before anyone says there's nothing to do with funding it, it's received more funding in recent years than it ever has done since it started. If people don't realise the way to get a grip on the NHS is to crack down once and for all who should actually be allowed to use it at the point of, so free at the point of use, versus those who should have to pay for it, for the privilege. To my mind, it's very simple. If we don't build a system that says that until you have paid national insurance for X number of years, you won't be entitled to free healthcare, because it's the only way you're going to crack down on people taking advantage of the NHS.
But at the moment, there's a system, isn't there, with legal migrants that they have to pay a sum of money every year for the first, I think it's 5 years, that they have to contribute towards the NHS, whether they use it or not.
Yeah, but I'm talking period, because to my mind, it's the same with even people in this country, because even people who are born here,
right.
As much as I understand why you would say, but hang on a second, they pay tax all their life on other things. They do and they don't. I'm not being funny, but if you've got a system that says you have to pay into, blimey, you can even do it like a national insurance scheme that people have to pay X amount per month, minimal, nominal charge. But even if it is that nominal, it does do something to help the NHS. Put that to one side. It's more about who actually has access to it. It is so unbelievable when you go into, I don't know when the last time you were unfortunate enough to wind up in A&E, but I have to tell you that on the previous occasions I've wound up in A&E, I have been quite shocked by, shall we say, the people who appear to, at the very least, not understand English as their first language, which could only mean one of two things. Either someone has either come here legally, set up new home, lovely, welcome to England. Either someone has come over here illegally, or people are over here as a tourist and using the NHS. But whatever the system is, whatever it may be, it's very telling, and it makes me deeply concerned how the NHS is being abused and no one actually has the backbone to say it.
It's really interesting to me because the people do often have to declare that they're not, because you don't have an NHS number or you don't have your identifying numbers. But it's the NHS that doesn't then chase the money. You've got so many people who say, I was expecting to chase. I mean, I remember when I was in Germany and I went into Labour, not the political party, early. And I was literally in the process of giving birth, and I needed a cesarean, but the German doctors wouldn't touch me until they'd seen I think it was called an IR, what was it called in those, the EHIC card or whatever, and a passport to show that I was a member of, in the European Union.
So did you have to stop giving birth, then go back to the hotel to pick up the passport and go back
No,
again?
Luckily I had all the...
Oh, thank goodness for that. That could have been disastrous.
I was very well organised. I had a folder with all my information in it. But quite seriously, they had somebody come in and say, in German, show me your papers, basically.
Gracious.
Yeah. But it was very strict, and so I do wonder why it's not quite so strict over here, to be honest with you. But anyway, what could possibly go wrong with a virtual doctor's appointment? The Times also leading with that story, saying, see consultants in any corner of the country at a virtual hospital.
Do you think I have to put on a VR headset to be able to see the hospital?
Yeah, maybe to smell the disinfectant or something. I don't. Yeah, ew. Listen, I just think they're just pushing people further and further away from that human contact is not a good idea. And we all know that, we've been into a doctor to see them about something and gone, oh, by the way, I've got a hurty toe or something, and they go, oh God, or how can you just have a look at this mole? And they've gone, right, I'm sending you straight away to, I think, that skin cat, you know,
Absolutely.
whatever. This is what happens with human contact. If it's virtual and down the barrel, and you're talking about one thing that you don't even know what it is, I mean, how are you supposed to choose your specialist? So you've got a headache and you choose a neurologist.
Maybe if it's a virtual hospital. Well, maybe if it's a virtual hospital, it will be done like a game or something. You just pick a card, any card, and you can choose your consultant that way.
It is. How do you know? I mean, I know in Germany, because I spent a lot of years living there, but they have. You can decide if you've got a hurty knee, you go and see a hurty knee doctor. You don't have to go to a GP first. There's no gateway. But I suspect that they're pretty well in tune with that, because that has always been the system. But if your hurty knee ends up being, I don't know, Parkinson's or something, I mean, that is a different specialism. So for me, this just has got disaster written all over it.
And by a curious coincidence, actually, in Germany, there probably is a doctor out there called Dr. Hurty Knee. But anyway.
There probably is, to be fair. I never met him, but there you go.
No. Very presumptuous to say never met him. How extraordinary.
I only saw male doctors there.
Gracious.
I did.
Germany sorted out. Women can be doctors as well.
Yeah, they certainly can. The Times newspaper, have faith, urges Rachel Reeves. So she's asking us now to have faith.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at that. How can you have faith? Are they having a laugh? Okay, fine. Have faith. Right, yes, of course. I've seen the light now, Rachel Reeves. I have faith in you.
The thing is that was so interesting is that, you know, Keir Starmer was saying that was a great speech and everything, everybody applauded. It was a Labour conference. You know, if you can't
I don't think anyone's going to boo, are they?
If you can't get a round of applause there, you're really not going to get one anywhere, are you? There's literally no pushback.
I might suggest that if she can't get an applause there, she probably doesn't know her audience.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wouldn't be terribly likely that the Prime Minister would then go up to the podium and then say about his Chancellor what a terrible speech that was.
No, he's got form, hasn't he, for standing by people he then subsequently gets rid of.
We live in hope.
She won't survive the budget. I mean, she will survive the budget, but she'll be gone, I think, not long after it, because it will be an absolute
bloodbath.
Cluster mess.
Mm-hmm.
Gold-plated, just very quickly, because we've only got about 15 seconds. Gold-plated pensions for councillors, despite record tax rises.
Well, that's all right then, isn't it? As long as they're sorted.
It's always okay for them, isn't it? It's always going to be all right for them. They always do okay. The gold-plated pensions that we pay for.
Yeah, I was going to say, as long as we're poorer for it and they're richer for it, what's the problem with that?
Nothing at all. Phil, Dave, lovely to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Right, just time again to remind you about the digital ID thing that is going to be mandatory. Yeah.